And let's turn now to transportation. We know that Austinites want better public transportation because they overwhelmingly voted for Project Connect, including new light rail in 2020, but we still don't have that, and that plan has been significantly scaled back.
And so one viewer wrote in this question: with the legal challenges and financial hardships Project Connect is experiencing, how will you ensure that the project moves forward and is able to be built as close to the plan outlined when Prop A was initially passed? This question is for all of you, and you'll have 60 seconds, and we start with Mr. Bowen.
Thanks. Actually, I served on the Project Connect Ambassadors Network when this was the 2 years prior to it, and watching this. And as a construction guy, I would look at what they were trying to bring about and going, you can't build this for what you're talking about. All of their consultants, all of their engineering firms, it was just no way. What I would do is, you're not going to get it back to what the almost 30 miles was that they were talking about. But one thing that I would encourage is, we need to push forward with the ride program or the pickup program that's already done over 1 million people. That needs to be expanded in a very rapid rate versus it being drug out. Also, on-demand type services. We could also be doing buses, even though we spent $255 million on electric buses that we haven't seen yet, and it went to a company that went belly up. We can still be getting those routes running with existing type of buses until those other ones are able to come back online. But we need to ask, how are we going to make up that difference?
Mr. Greco, you now have 60 seconds. How will you ensure that Project Connect moves forward as it was proposed, the original plan?
Sure. I support Project Connect. I know we are not getting as much as we originally voted for, and a bit overruns, but I will be the mayor that makes sure it comes in on time and on budget. I think it is good for the quality of life. I think it's good for our environment. And I also think it's good for the blue-collar jobs that are created. I am concerned that almost $3 billion of it is going for professional services. I would put more of that to the construction jobs to make sure those workers are paid well. I am concerned about our bus drivers. I would expand bus access, but make sure we are servicing our current bus routes as well. Our bus drivers, I am told, a member of the union, 75% live outside the city because they cannot afford to live here. That is shameful. And after 20, 30 years, $30 an hour is the top wage. We need to pay our transit workers well with a dignified wage. And we need to make sure that we implement Project Connect on time and on budget, and I'll be the mayor that does that.
Ms. Llanes Pulido, same question on Project Connect.
For most of the past 20 years as a community organizer and also as a city commissioner, I've worked with countless transit-dependent people and also commuters who serve our city every single day. I would be committed to fulfilling the contract with the voters of Project Connect, which was a citywide transit system that we desperately need. Remember that Project Connect promised to take care of essential workers, relieve traffic congestion, etc. The plan that we are now being presented will never do that, because a rail line that only goes from 38th Street to Old Torf will never take care of the majority of people who are commuting. We have to actually look at the service lines serving the communities that were promised. We can do so even with the lawsuit, which, reading the writing on the wall, the current management is illegal. And so we need to come back to the voters with more transparency of how we're going to do rail. In the meantime, I think on-demand transit for a fraction of the cost can increase service all over, as well as bus rapid transit, which can help us acquire property to later put in rail at a more reasonable rate.
And Ms. Tovo, now to you, 60 seconds to answer.
Yeah, thank you. I support Project Connect. I always have and will continue to do so as mayor. I agree with some of the comments earlier. It is disappointing that the plan needed to be scaled back because of the escalating costs with construction, and we've certainly seen that in other industries as well, so I understand why it happened. As a member of the Austin Transit Partnership Board, which the mayor typically is, I certainly would make sure that we are getting as much value as possible, assuming it can go forward, that we're making sure that that line extends as far as possible, that we're looking for opportunities to fund other segments of it through federal funding. And of course, we need to continue to invest in our bus lines and work toward that plan that will serve citywide. And I agree with some of the comments before about making sure that those who work for those companies on the buses or on the rail lines are paid well. That has to be a key consideration as well. But we can and do, I believe, have the infrastructure in this plan to move forward toward a citywide solution.
And Mr. Mayor, how do you get Project Connect as close to what voters initially intended?
Well, one of the things you do is you follow the process that we have followed in the past 2 years. And one of the things we've done is we have had a very public process. In fact, it was one of the better community processes that I've seen in my many years of being involved in local government, where we had a citizens advisory committee that also helped us, where we went out and worked to try to achieve just that question and came up with what we're able to afford and live within our means. And that is what we need to continue to move forward on. I fought successfully in the Texas legislature the past session to protect Project Connect, and we'll do that again. And I have stood up and said we're going to fight in the lawsuit so that we protect the rights of the voters. In addition to that, I've worked very closely with the federal government to talk about the fact that we have two major transportation projects that ought to mesh together, and that is the airport and Project Connect and the rail line. And I've even convened the federal government and our professionals here in Austin to talk about financing mechanisms to be able to connect us to the airport.
And for a 15-second clarification question, you've had those conversations with the federal government. What has come from that?
Well, we've now had the meetings and we've convened different groups. For example, the Build America Better program has been in Austin working with the airport, working with ATP, working with Capital Metro and the city staff. And we're now trying to finalize, are there ways we can use financing mechanisms in different ways to get us to the airport?